Hello folks and welcome to Fantasy Creek. My name is Aaron Draper and today we're going to be looking at The Warlock of Firetop Mountain by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone. Now, straight off the bat, this is fantasy at its best. It really is. If you're into games like Dungeons and Dragons and sort of role-playing games and mixed with a bit of reading, this is like perfect for like in between sort of D&D sessions or something along those lines. Or if you're watching this and it's currently locked down at the moment, so if you're not getting out much and some of your games have been cancelled, this is amazing. But even if you just enjoy like reading, this is great. It's kind of like a mix between reading and rolling dice. So you sort of choose your own fantasy sort of adventure and you make your own decisions. And yeah, it's just really sort of a fun and dynamic way of reading books, really. This one in particular, I really liked. It's the first one I've played, so I went in completely blind into this fighting fantasy world. And I was really pleasantly surprised, to be honest. The sort of pure fantasy dungeon crawl that it captures, I really liked about it, because it's not sort of too complex. It's pretty simple in its sort of goal and what it's trying to be and what it's trying to do. Now, I've not played any other Final Fantasy books. This was the first one I played, so I went in without knowing really anything about Fighting Fantasy, other than it's a game where you roll dice and you choose what you want to do and you turn to certain pages. But I haven't actually played one before. So playing this and playing it blind, I really enjoyed it. There were certain times when I found it a bit challenging, especially near the end. Now, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but there is a particular bit at the end which is kind of like a maze that you may come across, which can be quite hard to decipher your way through. And I've seen some people talking about it as well and saying that a couple of times, because they hadn't mapped what they were doing, they'd kind of really struggled with it. So I'd suggest if you go into this and you're new to playing it, I'd suggest map it out and also write the sections. When you turn to the different sections, write those numbers down on your map so you have a sort of a guide of where you've been and where you're going back to. So then you don't lose kind of like the route that you've taken. Otherwise you can just end up going in circles. So I'm not going to be comparing this to other fantasy books because I've not played any of the other fantasy books. But for this one, I thought it was sort of a typical kind of D&D adventure. You know, you've got like a dungeon where your main goal is quite clear in the sense that you're going in, there's a big bad guy called Zagor, or Zagor, depending on how you pronounce it. He is the warlock of Firetop Mountain, who you need to essentially defeat and steal his treasure. Now, I'm not going to give away any of the spoilers of my playthrough either, because I've just played this on my channel. And so if you want to check that out and you want to see the playthrough, go ahead. I really enjoyed the playthrough. There were some struggles that I found and some really enjoyable bits that made it a bit more easier. So yeah, you can get a feel for the game itself if you want to watch that. Personally, I really love the role-playing and D&D game itself. So having a book like this, I really enjoyed, because you get to roll your stats and you get to basically be the character. Now, I think that in this sense, it's really left up to you to create your character in the sense of how you want them to be. But because you're following quite a strict sort of book guideline of what you have to follow, there isn't a huge amount of like leeway to develop your character into something solely original, because there's only a limited amount of choices of things you make and do. Like, obviously you get all the many different choices that could affect you quite drastically, depending on like whether you go west or east, or if you decide to fight a monster or not. But I didn't find there was a lot of like personal character choices. Like, you have to really think about, what would my personality do in this situation? Am I a good person or a bad person? Like, there was a few sort of minor situations like this where you might there's a particular time where you can help somebody or you can stab them and stuff. So there is like these kind of situations, but I didn't feel like it was getting to a deep sort of character route. So that maybe gets developed in other books. This is obviously the first one, so they wanted to probably keep it quite simple. So in that sense, I think it's down to your imagination where you want to take it. But I think the really nice thing about it was that there was quite a variety of different enemies and things throughout the book. So it was kind of like one of those dungeons that it's not just like just spider and you're going to kill the Spider Queen and it's all spider themed stuff. It's kind of like one of those dungeons that's just like so many different things and creatures have like appeared in this world, and they're kind of living within each other, and you don't know what to expect when you go into this dungeon or when you go into the different rooms. It could be like something completely different. You got like a minotaur one minute and then like a dragon at the other minute, and then like goblins and orcs and all the typical stuff, but you've also got a mixture of all these nuances and different kind of creatures as well, different traps and things. So I think they really did a good job of like leaving the reader feeling like they're not sure what to expect. And yeah, generally I thought I really loved the book, and I feel like the choices that I made definitely had a big impact on the outcome of the ending, what I got. And there's like one clear perfect ending, and then there's some kind of like half endings, and then there are like loads of losses basically when you die and stuff like that. So, and there's I found that there's quite a lot of different routes that I could have taken, and some of them I didn't. So there's a lot of, once finishing, I realized there is still a lot of areas that I didn't complete. And that's one of the reasons why I will be doing another run through on my channel at some point, because I'd really like to just get all the way through this really in the deep and delve of it. And if you're new to coming into this book or the Fighting Fantasy novels, just remember that the ending can be pretty tough, so do remember to draw out that map. And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this again. The next book that I'm going to be reading is going to be The Citadel of Chaos by Stephen Jackson. That is the second book in the series, the main Fighting Fantasy series that was written by Stephen Jackson and Ian Livingstone. And then, so this one was written by both of them. And then how I believe it is that they then took turns alternatively writing one after the other after that. So they shared this one as authorship and then went on to write in sequence one after the other. So, and then I think I'm not sure exactly how many, but there might be like 59 or something in the main sequence. So it's quite a lot of different books to go through, so hoping that I'll go through all of them at some point. Yeah, I mean, I guess I should probably talk a little bit about some of the illustrations. Now, I haven't played the older publishings. This is one of the newer publishings. So this is, I believe, the latest publishing that was done in 2017. I'll throw up some of the different picture illustrations on the screen if I can and find them online. Some of them are really cool. Some of them I found really nice. Gives like a little simple touch that's just really nice to look at. And for me, as a reader, I really like to have images as well. Like graphic novels I just absolutely love, and I really find it helps with the just that giving that little extra spark in the imagination as you're playing through. So I've seen like this zombie here. I've seen a couple of the other older illustrations, and actually I think some of these are better. Like I feel like this like some of these are much more 3D. I found some of the older illustrations a bit flat, and these kind of to be a bit more poppy. So I don't know, that's probably personal preference though. So yeah, you can let me know what you thought, how you would compare the original copies, the Penguin publishings, to the newer ones. Now I have heard that some of these have a bit more typos, so that is an issue, so you might be looking at wanting to get one of the older publishings as opposed to the newer publishings. But if you're more into the pictures, maybe have a little look and compare what you think about the pictures. And again, if you've played the other Fighting Fantasy novels, let me know what you think in comparison to these. Like, which do you find this one your favourite, or do you prefer other ones to be your favourite in the Fighting Fantasy sequence? Let me know which ones I have to look forward to. As this is a starting point, I'm really looking forward to playing all of them at the moment. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been insightful in some way or another. And yeah, hope to see you in the next videos. Thank you, and see you around.